Caleb, City Council of Sydney wants to slow traffic down even more.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure you've heard about this in pretty much every other capital city around the country too. It's all happened somewhere at some point. Sydney now reckons they want to slow down cars to 40 kilometres an hour in the CBD because it's already not hard enough to get around Sydney and Brisbane and Adelaide and every other city in this country. Thankfully, thank God, Dominic Perrottet, the Premier of New South Wales, knocked the idea on the head today. Have a listen.
We've got to speed up our city, not slow it down. And obviously this comes back to the New South Wales government. But my view is, you've got to have a balanced and reasonable approach. Obviously, you want to ensure safety in our city, but we are a global city. We can't slow it down. And to have a blanket rule like that seems pretty ridiculous to me.
Now, when I lived in Melbourne, I lived in South Melbourne, and the Port Phillip Council had every street 40 kilometres an hour. Every back street was 40 kilometres an hour. Every time I got in the car, there would be a new speed bump installed. I'm not joking. Every bloody time there'd be a new speed bump. And they claim, as City of Sydney has claimed today, that, it'll slash road fatalities and injuries. Rubbish. This is all about discouraging you from driving your car, James.
It's not even a new idea. Christina Keneally, when she was Premier in 2010, proposed the same thing, and the City Council of Sydney proposed the same thing in 2012.
Yep.
It was opposed by bus drivers who said they would dream of doing the speed limit in the city. And the NRMA rightly pointed out that most of the time traffic is going slower than 40 kilometres, but when traffic begins to flow, that's the very time they'd slow it down. What they'll do is they've got bike lanes, then they put a 40 kilometre an hour speed limit, and then the city's so congested they say, we need a congestion tax. We all can see where this is going.
Just last week, that's what we were talking about then. All I can say is I don't think these city councillors, if they got their way, they clearly don't want to be re-elected. This would have been such a profoundly unpopular, unless they just think they're sitting pretty until 2025, which is the next council election. But do me a favour, there's no way that would have been a vote winner.
This is what happens when you've got people making laws about cars who clearly don't drive cars, Caleb.
Indeed. Well, they did it in Adelaide. They made the CBD 40 kilometres an hour about a decade ago. It lasted about 2 years and they got rid of it because it didn't do a damn thing except
It didn't
slow
slash
people down.
fatalities.
Total joke.